because this is the guy who got their panties all in a bunch, Nick Fuentes. But you know, when it comes to Nick Fuentes, I don't really agree with everything he says, but he has a right to say what he says. Nick Fuentes has just as much of a right to say what he says as any American does. If you're going to police his speech, please police the speech of Pookie and Ray Ray. Because they out here saying all types of crazy stuff in these drill songs, and ain't nobody policing that.
I question anybody who says they're sincerely America first if they don't talk about white people and how our country went from white to non-white, because that's important. Our country came from Europe. And people say it's a nation of immigrants. Yes, a nation of European immigrants. And before that, a nation of European colonists and pioneers and explorers and conquerors. That's who came before any of the immigrants, even the European ones. So you need to talk about that. You also need to talk about Christianity. This is also a Christian nation. Most of the colonies at the founding of the country had state churches. It was considered at the time of the founding that there should actually be a law that said you have to be a Christian to be elected to government.
Listen, okay, Nick, you're right. Nick is right, y'all. Nick is saying that this is a country that was founded by white people, white immigrants, all that. He is right. But the white people of today are not the white people of the time that Nick Fuentes is romanticizing. White people built this country. Well, they founded this country, and they also destroyed it. Because like I told that other racist dude, which if you're racist, I don't care. Be as racist as you want to. You could call me a nigger as long as I could call you a cracker or trailer trash. I'm cool with that. What I'm saying is this. Y'all, people like Nick Fuentes, the people he is championing, right? They are the ones that created the laws that caused our society to decay and become what it is now. White folks is the ones who pushed the laws that stop people from disciplining their kids the way they saw fit. White people the ones who said, if you spank your kid or touch your kid, we're going to take them away from you. And then when people stop disciplining their kids for fear of losing their kids to white people due to the laws that white people put in place, and that, you know, and their kids basically being kids, going out acting buck wild because they have no discipline, started terrorizing society. Now they want to try to blame that on everybody else. That is one of the major disconnects I have with the racists and the white supremacists and all that. You're not going to put all this stuff on us. It's not going to happen. Because we can go back to a time in history when black people in America was acting just as civilized, if not more civilized than white folks. But what did white people do to black people that made black people act uncivilized? First, you gave us welfare and shit like that, which incentivized black folks just sitting on their ass not doing nothing. And when we push back against it, you say, shut up, nigga, you don't know what's best for you. You guys are the ones who introduced the food stamps and the government food program that broke up the black families and giving women the right to work. Giving women the right to work, then incentivizing the split up of the family. Not a single black person had a say in that happening. Not a single black person had a say in that happening. And what happened in the white community as well. But because the black community is so much smaller than the white community, it had a more immediate negative impact. If you have a smaller sample size or a smaller test group, the impact of whatever test is being done is going to be recognized faster. It's going to be realized faster than on a larger group. So the things that impacted the black community immediately, it took decades for it to really hit the white community in the numbers that hit the black community. And we see that even with the opioid crisis. We've been seeing hypes and crack heads and dope fiends rolling through our community since the 80s, right? But eventually, that dope and those drugs and the opioids and all that, eventually it went over to it I don't know if this is the right word, matriculated. Is that the right word, guys? I don't know what matriculated even means, but it sounds like it fits. It matriculated over to the white community, and now it's a crisis. It's an epidemic. Now we need to blow up Venezuelan drug boats before they even touch the shore. I don't agree with Nick Fuentes on that. He's omitting facts just to stir up the crackers. That's what he's doing. He's omitting facts to stir up the white people. And that's why when I debated the racist, he was looking stupid and was dumbfounded and couldn't think of a comeback for that, because he had to admit, who stopped black folks from whooping their kids' ass? White people did. They had you to the point, if you whooped your kid's ass, you was afraid your kid was going to go to the school, tell the white teacher, she was going to tell the social service, and they was going to come to your house and take your kid away. They put you in a state of perpetual fear, which made you afraid to discipline your kids. And your kids, because we got black kids, okay? Black folks is turned up. That's just the way we are. It's like if you own horses. Some horses are real mellow. If you get you a good quarter horse, that's a real mellow horse. It's still a horse, but it's mellow. Now go get you an Arabian and try to treat it like you treat a quarter horse. It ain't the same. They're both horses, but it's a different type of horse that is bred for something different. Black folks were bred in America to do hard labor in the heat from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. We have a lot of energy, lots of testosterone, lots of the characteristics and genetic qualities we needed to basically be a slave labor force, right? That energy has to go somewhere. That's why Negroes excel in sports. Because if we find good outlets for that energy, we can do great things. So we turned up. But you have to instill some form of discipline in black people so that they can excel and operate at their best. If you take away all disciplinary guardrails from African American, that person is going to do something wild or crazy that's going to have you looking at it like, dang, these Negroes are crazy. And that's what they did. You got a young black boy, mama can do bad all by herself, daddy on dope, whatever. He's growing up in the inner city, and you tell his mama she can't whoop his ass to make him do what she say he needs to do. Well, you're just creating a monster at that point. You're setting that kid up for failure. But then when you actually go out and do the crime, then you say, damn, black people always committing crimes. And white people always trying to impose a rule upon someone else about what they do with what's theirs. So if black people are always committing crime, white people always minding everybody else's business, then complaining about the results. Do you think a white person really give a shit if you beat the dog shit out of your kids? White people sat by and watched slaves get beat with bullwhips. Nigga didn't move an inch, didn't move a muscle. They didn't go raid the slave plantations and kill every slave owner. They sat by for decades and just watched it happen. Only when it became beneficial for them to end slavery, that's when they ended slavery, because the North didn't want to compete with the South, and the South had free labor. And it also, there's a bunch of reasons. So I just hate this idea that somebody can come at somebody and be like, I manipulated your situation to get the result that I desired. And now that I'm getting that result and it's hurting me, now I'm going to blame you for it. I'm not with all that. I'm not with all that. It's like you got people in the military, right? They got diabetes because the way the military fed them. You also got people in jail who have diabetes because of the food that they were giving them in jail, high starch, high carbohydrate food that turns into sugar and all that stuff, right? you can go back and sue them for putting you in for creating an environment that induced diabetes in you, right? So we should be able to sue white people for creating an environment that induced our kids going outside and acting like animals. Why? That's the argument. You want the winning argument against white people? That's the argument. None of this would have been that way if you would have minded your own damn business. Because when white folks segregated us and didn't want to have nothing to do with us, you didn't see the same problems that you see in the black community right now. Harlem was peaceful before white folks started giving niggas welfare checks. Harlem was peaceful before women got to go in the workforce. So now there ain't nobody at home with the kids. This is a fact. Even Thomas Sowell said this. Black communities were peaceful until white folks created the perfect circumstances for those communities to go downhill. And we know that it's not about being black because the same issues are now hurting white folks. It just took longer for it really to manifest itself because they have because their population in America is so much larger than ours. See, back in the day, a white person get addicted to drugs, alcohol, they mom and daddy just stuff them over to Betty Ford Center. Out of sight, out of mind. People like Robert Downey Jr., right? You didn't see it because it wasn't happening at high enough numbers or at a high enough rate, a fast enough rate for white folks to really say, hey, this is a problem. But then the opioids came, the fentanyl came, and it's cheaper, easily accessible, right? Before, you really only saw a white person be a real dope fiend or drug addict if they were rich because they had the means to go buy a bunch of cocaine and spend $150 on cocaine every day. But once you got this meth and the fentanyl and all this stuff where you could get that stuff for $5, $10, whatever, or just make it in your kitchen, you saw the rates explode among white folks. And then the same things that have been present in the black community for decades, you started to see it in the white community. That's what you saw. There's no scientist, no researcher who can argue with this fact.